Well, hello again, and welcome to our front yard garden in the South Carolina upstate. This is tour number 28 for 2024. It's August 18th, and really could not be a nicer day. The sky is just about as blue as it can be. It's about 80 degrees. I think it's supposed to hit upper 80s later today. So I thought for right now this would be a good time to do the video. The sun is not at the ideal angle, but the morning glories are all out, so I thought this would be a good time to show them off. And as always, we'll start here at the mailbox and move our way around the front yard. So as I said, the morning glories are in their glory right now. I try to get some of these, if not most of these, summer videos done in the early morning so we can see these, because by the time the sun hits them for a couple of hours, usually by about 11 o'clock, they start to wilt. You don't really see them at all, but they have been a real joy this year. Last year we didn't really have a whole lot of blooms on these, and this year it's been just fantastic. So they've taken the place of the clematis, and for the most part, the clematis were finished up in the spring, but we do, every once in a while, we'll get a couple blooms here and there. This is one that has not bloomed since probably April or May. This maroon colored one has 2 flowers on it. That's really it for the clematis. The Giacomini purple clematis gave us a couple flowers maybe 3 weeks ago, and those are long gone. So that's it for the mailbox for the time being. And if you're growing clematis yourself, the fact that all these leaves are dead is pretty typical. The vines will come back next year, and this will look fantastic. But for right now, it's pretty well finished up. Now down here we have, as you can see, our morning glories are really trying to take over everything. They're very aggressive, so sometimes you have to be a little bit careful where you put them, but they're growing amongst the vinca, which are a little bit in the shadows, but these have really taken off. The red ones we put in from a box store. They were already growing back in, I believe, May, maybe June. And then the pink ones down here are ones that are grown from seed. I think some of these have come up from last year, actually. White, pink, red. They look fantastic. And then, of course, the big elephant in the room are all the zinnias, and they continue to do extremely well. These are all grown from seed. My wife Jenny put these all together back in May and June, and they are just looking fantastic. Lots of different colors, lots of different styles, and we're going to see a lot more zinnias as we work our way around the yard, but they are doing absolutely great. Kind of hidden back in here, we still have some phlox that are flowering. Unfortunately, because they're in the middle of the garden, you don't really see them too well, but they're still pretty if you know where to look. And so we'll move on to the front corner here. These mostly this bed, I should say, is mostly vinca, and these are all from seed. There are a few here along the walk that have come up from last year, but the rest of them are all seedlings that my wife put in, and they're really starting to come out now and flower, and they will continue to do so until we get the first frosts, which really at this point should be probably another 2.5 months. So we have a lot of color still to come. Also have our little petite knockout rose here. It's doing a little bit better than it was. It's had some struggles, partly because we haven't really done much with it. It needs a little bit more care than what we've done in terms of fertilization and deadheading. So that's partly our fall. It did better last year. We didn't really do a whole lot to it then. It was brand new, but it still is putting out some flowers. It's a nice plant. Has the potential to do very well if you put a little bit of time and energy into it. And then over here we've just got our usual mix of different things. We've got some marigolds. Some, like these, are doing still pretty well. They need some deadheading, but we think there's a disease on this one. This plant is pretty well finished off. This one may follow. I think there's just something in the soil that's not agreeing with them here, because we have some marigolds in the backyard that are still doing very well, and they usually do until the first frosts come through. Over here, we're not sure how, but we've gotten some tomatoes that are doing pretty well. You actually do see some fruit on the vines, and so I'm not sure what these will do. This is the first year we've ever gotten tomatoes in the front yard. Usually that's a backyard thing, but the seeds managed to work their way up here, which is what seeds do. Got a zinnia here. This blood red one is kind of unique. We don't have too many in that color. We're not sure exactly what happened. We think maybe that just the weight of the plant made it fall over, and then because it's right on the edge of the driveway, a section of it got run over, so we scaled it back, and it looks like it's doing really well now. Same thing over in here. We've got lots of zinnias, vinca, and even some dianthus that are still hanging on, left over from the spring. As we work our way through here, we've got still some Russian sage giving us some flowers. It's not terribly dramatic when I show it on the video, but it's a pretty little flower, very delicate. It's a nice addition to the garden for sure. Got some sedum here. Those bloomed in the sense of giving off some very delicate small yellow flowers back in the spring. Now it's just a ground cover plant doing very well. And then our big climbing rose here in the front doing well, still putting out flowers, although I think it's headed into a little bit of a dormant phase here over the next few weeks. It's lost most of its leaves due to black spot, but it's still putting out flowers nicely. And then of course our black-eyed Susans and the backdrop there, those all spread on their own from seed. We'll have to kind of scale those back a little bit. They have a way of spreading a little more than what you might like. Here in the front we've got some, I'm blanking out, dahlias right here. Got a couple nice buds. These will bloom soon. They're not quite ready yet, but they're getting really big. The plants themselves are doing wonderfully. And then as we continue through, I've shown these off before. We've got a lot of different types of zinnias, from ones that have just the sort of flat flower, to ones that are more turned up and more dense, to ones that are almost circular. They have several layers, and they kind of look like pom-poms or golf balls right in here. And these are all in the same plants too, so it's a very unique and varied plant with just a lot of different color. It's a great summer flower. They don't really need a whole lot of maintenance, although they do tend to look a lot better if you deadhead them. And Jenny did deadhead these during the week, and it's helped, because once the flowers die, they just look brown and kind of ugly. So it's just beneficial from a cosmetic standpoint if you take care of them with the deadheading. Over in here, the hydrangeas. This is, of course, primarily a spring plant. They've lost most of their color. What color is left is just that sort of dull pink color, and that'll continue to slowly fade until they're just pale brown by the end of the year. Over here we have our big lemon tree. It's putting out a lot of new growth. I've fertilized it and done some work getting rid of parasites, and it seems to be doing well. No buds, of course, but better than nothing. Over here, my orange tree, this has suddenly taken off. It was about 6 feet tall, and then it grew this extra, well, I won't say extra branch, but an extension of its upper branch, so that now the whole thing is about 10 feet tall, and the rest of it's doing well. We're trying to water them regularly and doing a little bit more fertilization than what we've done in the past. And then the 4 smaller lemons here, I don't expect anything out of them this year, but maybe next year they'll give us some flowers, and maybe a lemon or 2 here and there. Who knows? Coming back through here, this is all spring gardening. Not a whole lot going on here. Last week we had some snapdragons on that plant, but they're pretty well finished up, as are these. We still have a tiny bit of color here, but not much. And I think then these will be finished for the year. Behind those are viburnum, and of course that's an April and May flowering bush, just like the viburnum here and the azaleas that we have. This is almost entirely a spring garden, although we do have the hostas. Until recently that we still had some flowers on those. But they're doing well. They're with the variegation of the leaves, they are a nice ornamental plant. And really the only other plant that we have that's doing anything of note right now in this bed are the butterfly bushes, or I should say the butterfly bush. And this still has some flowers on it, not a lot. It's gotten its second wind, but even its second wind is starting to run out now. I don't think we're gonna have too much more color off of that, but it's been a solid bloomer all year. We are going to actively cut it back, though. If you look back in here, it's hard to see on the video, but the base of the plant is huge, and many branches. We put this in about 5 years ago, and it has just grown to about 8 or 10 feet in height, and it's just really outgrown what it's able to do successfully. So we need to cut it back to its base and let it start over again, and I think we'll get a lot more flowers out of it as a result. I frequently forget to put the crepe myrtle tree in our videos. This is an ornamental tree that's very common here in the upstate of South Carolina. 4 different colors that we have in our neighborhood. This dark pink is the only one that we have. Our neighbors have a very light lavender. There's also a dark lavender and a light pink. And you see all 4 of them in this area. Coming around to the front, we have a few more of the butterfly bush flowers and a couple of rose flowers on our big knockout rose here. We have 5 plants. I haven't talked about these much lately because they entirely bloomed in the spring, and I didn't really do much to cut them back until recently, and even then I think the energy of the plants had just been kind of sapped for the year, so I don't really expect much out of those for the rest of the year, but next spring they'll be full of color again. And then, as we usually finish up in our oval bed, we have, of course, vinca. We have some salvia, which generally just bloom in the spring. This one is getting its second wind. I've always kind of referred to this as a rock candy plant or flower, but it's giving us a few blooms here in the late summer, or midsummer. And then we have this wildflower here. Neither my wife nor I know the name of this. We bought it years ago, and we cannot remember what it's called, but it's a nice bloomer for us. And then we have some dahlias over in here. These have bloomed off and on. They have a couple buds on them, so we should get some more flowers soon. More vinca through here, doing really well. Zinnias, and then a couple of dahlias in this area that are doing really well. It's easy to kind of think that these are all zinnias, but when you look closely, you realize that this is a very different sort of flower. And when a dahlia is able to open up like this, they're absolutely gorgeous. These aren't quite dinner plate dahlias, but sometimes you'll get ones that are several inches across. This one is probably 4 inches across, but absolutely beautiful. We do have a couple nice coral colored roses on our climbing rose over here. For the most part, this is largely finished for the year, but it still pops out a couple of roses here and there, which is nice. All of our daylilies, all of our oriental lilies are finished for the year, but our 3 big knockout roses are getting their second wind, which is nice. Now, a week or two ago, the coral one in the back here was really fully in bloom, and now it's kind of finished up. It has a few flowers on it left, but not a lot. Then we have the bright red one and the bright pink one, and these are doing really well right now. I think this will probably finish them off for the year when they're done blooming, but it's one thing about knockout roses, you never can tell. Sometimes they'll just kind of change their mind and decide to bloom all over again later than you expect. More zinnias here. This is the remains of our daylilies that were out earlier in the spring. They're all long since finished up. And on this side, there's really not much. Monarda was very strong through here, but they're pretty well finished up. I think I saw a couple of rogue flowers here and there, but not much of anything else going on. So that's pretty much it for the front yard. We're going to do our backyard video in just a minute, and so make sure you take a look at that too. It's a very different garden back there. We do have some overlap in the types of flowers, but different soil, different sun exposure, different watering patterns, and some things just do much better in the front than the back, and vice versa. So until next time, I hope it's sunny wherever you are, and happy gardening.